ITNation Connect Global 2025. What an event. The largest ITNation of all time, the most attended. I have not personally missed an ITNation since 2007, and that was 100 of us in Tampa. Now it's grown to over 4,000 in Orlando. Incredible breakout sessions. I had the great opportunity to have a speaking session on how MSPs and businesses can grow through media and podcasting. Podcasters Row was the greatest we've ever seen at an event yet. There were studios set out for 8 podcasters, including myself, and the events at night, the concert, the Universal Studios, the vendor hall was incredible, the partner pavilion, I believe it's called. The vendors were fantastic. I was also able to attend the initiation, the first timers. Brad Shaw always invites me to that, and I really enjoy that. Wonderful event. I had the great fortune of having 13 incredible conversations with some incredible guests. Lawrence Christiana, I've been talking with Lawrence for so long, and we finally got together. Our schedules were such where I actually recorded this in my hotel room the day before. I made a makeshift studio, but Lawrence and I talked for a long time. Incredible insight. Really appreciate Lawrence's perspective, and I look forward to working with him in the future. Stephen Yu, I've known for many years. Their adaptive catalog, the puzzle mindset from Chessboards to Boardrooms. Always enjoy talking to Stephen. Everything's a puzzle, and he just figures out how to bring it all together. Blake Myers, first time I met Blake there at Blue Mirror, one of my favorite companies to work with. Blake is a very interesting young man. 8 seconds of chaos when bull riding taught a cybersecurity pro. He's got some other interests that are very interesting. Kate Schlarf, which I've had the great fortune of knowing now for a couple of years there. Of course, at Movila, again, one of my favorites. Kate and her team had a great booth there, do incredible project management work to help MSPs. I was so glad to get into the cow outfit and to walk around the vendor hall. Great talking with Kate. Mike DePalma, which I've known for a very long time when he was at Datto, Kaseya, now of course at Open Text, building stronger channel partnerships with Mike DePalma. Always great talking with Mike. Christina Klein, my first time talking with Christina there at Landsweeper. Fascinating discussion from DIY remodels to data mastery. I look forward to work with Christina in the future. Wonderful talking with her. MJ Schuer, a fellow New Englander I've known for, 15 plus years. Now at GTIA, we talked about the separation of CompTIA and GTIA and what he does there, how it helps MSPs. Caroline April, another person at GTIA who I didn't know before this, a true journalist that has come over and is now helping GTIA and MSPs. Rick Murphy from Cogent, known Rick for a while, has gone through an incredible transformation himself, but helping MSPs in the M&A space. Christina Carretero. I've known Christina for, 3 or 4 years now. An absolute pleasure. Smart, driven, love to work with. We have a great discussion on what she's doing now there at Arctic Wolf, and have some insight on some students exchange students that she takes in. Really great conversation with Christina. And last, Caroline Goals. Oh my goodness. I've known Caroline since she was at PAX 8. She was at Microsoft before that. Great insight. Really. When I saw her there, I had to take a double take. I said, hey, come be on the podcast, please. And I'm so glad she accepted. Wonderful time there. ITNation 2025 was waiting all year for it, and it seemed to go by in a second. Thanks for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. pawns. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission, how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others. What's the most important piece in chess?
The king.
Why?
Well, because you can still, like, every other piece, to me at least, if you encounter something and you lose it, you're probably still able to figure a way out. But without the king, you're pretty screwed.
So is the king always on your mind when you're playing?
Actually, no. The other king is on my mind when I'm playing. I generally tend not to care about my king that much, which is probably why I'm not, in the upper
grandmaster.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you say a king, you mean the opposing king?
The opposing king, yes.
I once asked somebody, and they said the pawn.
I think that the pawns are very important. They help you establish position, and really, they're like, to me, they're there to set up the shape of the board. But as far as importance, the other interesting thing about pawns is, of course, they're lowly. They seem lowly. They're just kind of in the way, and then suddenly they're like, "Oh, I got a promotion."
That's right.
So they certainly have their uses, but again, I tend to think that it's the opponent's king that is the most important, because you can sacrifice every pawn on the board as long as their king is in trouble, you're still okay.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. So is it constant offense?
I guess that's one way to describe it. It's like I said, I don't necessarily win, but it's fun.
Right.
You don't have to think too hard about defending your king.
And so while you're teaching your son, are you teaching him also your strategy, or you're letting him develop his own?
We're not getting into books yet, so he's just developed, and we're mostly just making sure he understands the rules of moving the pieces,
right,
and generally what you're supposed to do. I try not to do, and this is in general for me, I try not to talk too much about strategy when I'm teaching something new. I do this with chess, but with board games, with skiing, with anything else, IT even.
Right.
I try to just kind of explain, here's the rules of the game. This is how you engage. As you play, you're going to start realizing that there are certain patterns that tend to be more useful than others. It's that pattern recognition that I find most interesting when I'm teaching someone is they get it after some amount of time. So I like seeing that light bulb go off.
So as you're teaching them, you say, hey, do you notice this particular pattern occurring here? Maybe you didn't catch it. So you start pointing it out, or you let them say?
I like to let them say it first, but if they say something, even if it's not, I notice a pattern, but something like, oh, I see that opening like this, whatever this happens to be, doesn't seem to be that useful. And then that's when I'll say, yeah, because, if you do this, you don't really have much control over, say, the center of the board or over whatever part that you really need control over or at least some influence over. And so I like to let them have the first observation, but then if they make that observation, that's when I will probably chime in and say, yeah, this is probably why you would do this.
I played soccer all my life, Stephen, and I'm back into chess because a guest had it, and so I'm on that chess.com before I go to bed. It's wonderful. But I do, you said shape at one point. I'm noticing like this shape of the board, and you said center and move over. And just like in soccer, there's much shape the way the midfield controls the middle of the, and you start to notice certain shapes and patterns. It's wonderful to behold because there's so many dimensions to it.
Yeah, it's and this isn't just chess. It is really almost any game. There are rules and there are pieces, and you learn them. But eventually, to really master something, you no longer are just like trying to follow the rules. You're actually trying to look at the shape of the board and say, in the future, however many moves ahead, I want the board to look a certain way. If I can make it look that way, then I have a much better chance of winning this game.
Interesting. So you're actually, I know people have synesthesia, right? So when they hear a note, they see a color. And sometimes, I have a friend, whenever they see the number 5, it's always red. Have you ever heard of this before?
I have heard of it. I don't know of anyone personally who has that, but I have heard of it.
So then when they're creating music, they create it by color.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Some people apparently do it with math. Like
they see numbers as well.
They see numbers that way.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. It's wonderful. I like how you said that. You try to bring it to a particular shape of the board. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's kind of how I approach almost everything. Is I don't necessarily know what the answers are. I try to just say, I'm going to do something, and if I see that at some future point it's going to look like this, I feel good about my chances. Wow. Same
thing with rock climbing?
Yeah, actually, it is the exact same thing. I want to. Yeah, rock climbing is really a puzzle. It's not. I mean, there is a physical component, but it's more about solving for your body type and your physique and your athletic abilities. It's about solving a problem, which is how do I get from here to there with this set of tools.
Right.
And so, for me, it's all about like looking at how do I get to this part, and you break down the puzzle, right? Like anything else, you start at the beginning, you look, you see the ending. You kind of picture what you want there, but then you break it down into pieces. How do I get to the next step? Where do I put my feet? Where do I put my hands? Where do I put my nose?
Right.
Whatever it takes to kind of keep your balance. So yeah, rock climbing for me is actually all about puzzle solving, and I really like puzzles. So my son has actually really gotten into puzzles as well. We do these, they're called Hanayama puzzles, but they're basically physical puzzles, wood or mostly metal. And it's basically like trying to open and solve and or close different shapes to fit them and make them look a certain way, right? And again, look a certain way.
Wow.
And so because I like puzzles, all the activities I do tend to involve solving a puzzle of some kind.
And how's that manifested in your professional career? Is everything a puzzle that you're trying to solve?
People are puzzles to me. They really are.
Yeah.
I would say I like talking to people, but I tend to be somewhat introverted. I don't necessarily want to be the life of the party. And so for me, solving the people puzzle is really about what can I find, whether it's a common interest or something that someone I meet knows about a topic, and I really kind of deep dive into that and say, wow, that's really cool. Maybe that's a puzzle that you enjoy. How do I solve it with you?
Right. Not every, but when there's an issue with somebody, sometimes they don't want it to be solved. They just kind of want to be heard. What do you do with that?
Oh, I mean, that's what my wife says.
Say.
Not everything is a problem to be solved.
Yes.
I'm not very good at that. I will fully admit I'm not very good at
I
that.
say.
If she comes to me with something and she just wants to like just talk about vent.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, have you thought about doing this or that? And she's just like, no. And so that too is, in some ways, that too is a puzzle. As a puzzle, is
interesting.
What are they trying? The shape of that puzzle is different than the shape I want it to be, but you have to be very empathetic, and when you're talking to other people, you have to understand it's their puzzle.
That's right.
They get to solve it the way they want.
Fascinating.
And so yeah, I've my wife has said over the years I've become more empathetic and less just charging in and saying, "Have you tried this? Have you tried that?"
Some things, you have to approach differently, obviously. So we're here at ITNation 2025 here in Orlando. Big event, maybe the biggest ever. What are some of your goals this week, Stephen?
Quite honestly, this week, for me, it's just I love coming back, right?
Yeah.
I've been here, first time was 2008 or something.
Wow.
I did miss a COVID year, but it was just because nothing was flying.
Sure.
But at this point, I mean, obviously we probably have some business goals, but those are really secondary for me, because it's about coming back, seeing folks, meeting new folks, listening to their puzzles and trying to figure out whether we can help them with those puzzles. And specifically this year, for my business at least, a lot of what we do, we help IT resellers find things and sell them, right?
Yes.
A lot of what we do actually now involves working, as always, but really even more, working with other vendors that really have helped solve the overall, not just finding and selling things, but really interfacing with customers, right? And so this year's focus for me is about making sure that our integrations are really fantastic. And that includes the ConnectWise integration, but it also includes integrations with distributors and some of the folks who are here, and also with kind of the client portals and the ways that customers come to you, which is very different today than it was in 2008.
Yes.
So my goal for this year is to really listen, look at the wonderful puzzles I have in front of me, figure out how we can best work with that and solve whatever puzzles we can for folks.
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypinz.com/book. Thank you. Describe the early days of ConnectWise with Quosal.
Oh man, you're asking me to really go back.
What's the year?
The year is 2008, right? That's the first year. Well, technically 2007, but very close to 2008. That was a very transformative year for both ConnectWise and Quosal. We met a bunch of folks here, and we knew some already who said you should come to this event. We had just started in 2006 and at Quosal, and we said we're going to solve a quoting problem. We didn't really know what space. We were just generally trying to say, quoting is hard, and it still is. Sure. Let me tell you. We came here with no expectations whatsoever, and at that time, it was ConnectWise Partner Summit, and it was maybe I want to say under 1,000 people,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. You don't see the vendors like you do today. It was really a partner summit. It was ConnectWise partners, and then some of these ConnectWise partners happen to have solutions for themselves that may work for other partners. So it was more of a dialogue than anything. But we got swamped at our booth. Everybody wanted to solve this problem of quoting, and that's when the light bulb went off. And it happened that year that Arnie probably was there and saw us. And
Arnie Bellini, the founder.
Arnie Bellini, the founder of ConnectWise, and he came up to us and said, I want to. Apparently quoting still is very top of mind for him. And he said, I want to find a way to work together. And that really is, that's kind of the genesis of Quosal in many ways. And not that we wouldn't have entered other spaces. We were like working in Salesforce and others, but ConnectWise is where I feel we really got our start. And it was a rocket ship from there, right?
Wow.
Like we partnered with them for a while. We built integrations. We came to ITNation every year. A couple of years later, they invested in us. 2 or 3 years after that, they just bought us outright. And then a few years after that, Tom Bravo ate the whole turkey.
And what did you learn about that process? What can we learn from like the investment to the acquisition?
Wow. There's you're asking me to answer.
Well, it's a puzzle.
Yeah. Well, this is a multi-year, 10+ year puzzle, right? Yeah. So there's many things that I learned. But I think the most important thing I learned was you need to, as far as business is concerned, if you have something that solves a really important problem, you will eventually be able to get it out to enough people and you will win, whatever winning is to you. But in that process, you really have to think about, at least for me, you have to think about what lifestyle do you want to live? And I'm not talking about like mansions or yachts. I'm just talking about like, what do you enjoy most in your life? Is it your business? Some people, it absolutely is. But for others, it may be something else. And so as part of that process, I made a lot of friends at ConnectWise, folks who like mountain climbing and rock climbing and outdoor skiing. And so that part was important to me, is to have folks I work with that align with my values. And again, this is values. So there's no right or wrong. It's just, as you work with people, you want to make sure that you have easy ways to have conversations. The puzzles that you solve together need to be congruent, if not the same. And so that's really the key for me, was work with folks that you value, that value you, and that have the same sort of hobbies and ideas outside of work, because work is going to take up a good chunk of your life. And so if you're going to be in a 10-year partnership with someone or some company, make sure that it's the right fit. So yeah, I think if you want me to distill all that learning into one word, it's fit. Before you sign something that is hard to get out of, make sure it's the right fit.
And was it the right fit for you?
In retrospect, no one's ever going to say it was the wrong fit, right? So no one's ever going to be like, it was terrible. But it may not have been the perfect fit, but over the years I made, that's you changing yourself, the other partner changing themselves, just like a marriage. You may not start off with the perfect fit, but eventually you get there.
And how do you let go of the baby?
Well, for me, it was having another baby. So I think that one is really tough, and I'm still relatively young. So the question is probably better for my former partner, Kent McNall, who Quosal was his last hurrah. I'll try to answer on his behalf, not putting words in his mouth. But for me, it was fairly easy because I knew that wasn't the end. Like, I wanted to continue playing with puzzles and kind of looking at other things to solve and build. And so letting go was like almost a relief in some ways for me. But that's not for every founder, right? So Kent, on the other hand, knew it was his last hurrah. He definitely spent a lot of time talking about it. Like, is this fit with Arnie the right fit? Is this a partnership that we want to last? And then eventually, during the acquisition, is this what we want to do? Now, part of that also wasn't just the exit. It was also the fact that, like, by doing that, we knew that we could much more closely align with where ConnectWise was going.
I see.
And that was also important because if we felt that was the right fit and that we wanted to really double down and say, ConnectWise is it, then that's also something to think about. And so, yeah, part of it is letting go of the baby, but part of it is seeing that baby blossom, grow into a grown-up, be able to stand on its own, and whether or not, even though it's your baby, in many ways, I think for Kent, it was also, wow, we're really going to be big and be well known in the space, which still is.
Right.
It was weird. It hasn't been called Quosal for
a long time.
Maybe 8 to 9 years. Yeah. But I still see folks and they say Quosal. Because it's
Cell now?
No, it's CPQ now. It's not even Cell. That to me is like, wow, my kid has grown up. They're out in the world and they're doing things.
And your new kid is Adaptive Catalog.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how does Adaptive Catalog help MSPs?
Well, in a word, so you see on my shirt here, I know that your podcasters...
Sell without quoting.
Sell without quoting, right? I was in the quoting space for close to 20 years now, actually. And one of the key things I realized is no one likes quoting. You can try to make it simpler. You can try to make it faster. You can try to make it more efficient. But people still don't like doing it. They like having conversations. They like all the other parts of selling, but not the actual quoting, because it's very mechanical. It's very tedious, right? And so in a word, what do? We take the tedium out of that quoting process by bypassing it effectively, right? And so the way we do that is we've partnered with a ton of distributors, a ton of manufacturers to get all the data you need to sell. That's the pictures, that's the descriptions, that's the inventory, availability, everything you can think of. And then we've said, and you know what? We're not going to recreate the quoting wheel. Look, at least for the younger folks who buy, they don't want to talk to a salesperson. Right. So we put it onto a customer portal, a storefront effectively. And this isn't e-commerce per se. This is still something that you curate. You put together the bundles of things that you want to sell. Maybe a new employee is coming aboard for your customer. Well, you know exactly what that is as an MSP. You support maybe 3 lines of laptops, and then you need them to have a docking station. You need them to have a monitor, keyboard. You need to make sure that they have their Office 365, whatever security software you want. And then you're going to sell them some managed services. The exact details might vary slightly, but that's what it is, right? And so we say, look, curate a set of 20 to 30 bundles that you sell to your customers. And put that onto a store, let them self-service. That will handle the majority of cases where you previously used to quote. They send you an email, they call you, they create a service ticket, and then that back and forth, however fast, however speedy you are, that's probably a week before it's approved. Now, as long as they can self-service, and this is 80 to 90% of the time, they can have it instantly. And we connect with the distributors on the back end. It can even be drop shipped and to your customers. So no touch from an MSP.
Wow. And how long How old is it this new baby? How long?
New baby. So officially, I left ConnectWise in 2019. I took half a year off.
Good for you.
So really 2020 is when we started. But I say 2019 just because
Sure.
that's when we incorporated.
Tough time to start a company in 2020.
Oh, yeah, absolutely tough time. As soon as I started, literally like 2 or 3 months later, COVID hit. And I was like, oh, this is great. But it gave me a real chance to, well, one, to talk to folks because they had nothing better to do.
Right.
They were just all stuck at home. So I really was able to chat with a lot of folks and say, hey, how do you sell these days? Is the quoting process still good for you?
Right.
And also it gave me a chance to just hunker down and work on product, which is my favorite thing to do, is really look at a puzzle, a problem, and say, how do I solve it in the most efficient way? And without baggage, right? Because, by then, Quosal or CPQ by that point had so much baggage. And,
Really?
and none of it is bad baggage. It's just decisions were made at the time to help customers or whatever else. And then these layered onto other decisions year over year. And so you're like so far down this quoting path. I was able to say, you know what? I basically have a year here to architect this exactly the way I want. And so we said, instead of just saying like spring cleaning or removing layer, I just said, let's start from scratch. Let's build from the foundation where there are no preconceived concepts. And so it was in many ways good because of that.
And are you coding, Steven?
My co-founder, Steven Steck, will say no.
Yes.
Absolutely not. I'm not allowed near the code. I initially did, but one of the key parts of being a CEO is knowing when to let go.
Yes.
And that's not just letting go of coding. It's letting go of product management in some ways, sales, marketing, all these things. I've learned you need to trust that others can do this job right. And so I've slowly been learning that is let go of the things that, while I may be good at it, there are other people way better than I am and who have more focus and dedication on that. My goal is to see the shape of, again, I like to look at these things. So for me, this is all about, I see a problem and we need to reach some kind of solution. And there's some shore kind of far off there and it's foggy. How do we reach that shore? So my whole time should be spent thinking about, one, how do we get there with the tools that we have in front of us? But two, what could get in our way and how do we navigate around those perils? So that to me is actually the most important role of the CEO, is to be able to give that vision and guidance and then have my folks execute, because I should trust my folks to be able to do each individual part better than I certainly can.
Many CEOs can't delegate properly.
No, and I am not saying I can properly do it. There are definitely times where I see something broken or I see something not quite working the way I want, and I'm like, let me look at that. But I'm learning.
What is it about the MSP community you like working with them?
I mean, that also is like a 10-year question, right? I love IT. I just, ever since I was a kid, my first real computer was a IBM 8086 XT.
Thanks to
I definitely, that turned some kind of light bulb magic moment for me when I got that. I was just floored by how much power you had over things, being able to, and I think my first language was probably like QBasic or something on there.
I think mine was too.
And so that was just amazing to me. Wow, you can write this and it does this thing, and the screen does this, and so that was my magic moment. And ever since then, I've pursued. I have an electrical engineering undergrad. And an MBA, but that's different. But ever since then, I've really pursued this idea that like computers will change the world, and I should be part of that. I started my career actually at AMD, Advanced Micro Devices.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I worked on microcontrollers there.
Wow.
But I realized that I didn't really love the electrical engineering part that much. It was fine, nothing wrong with it, but I really actually loved people solving problems, right? And so the MSP space is a natural fit for me because MSPs are on the front line. They're literally on the front line. When there's a problem, they're there solving it. And so again, a lot of ways it goes back to my whole idea that I like solving puzzles, right? MSPs solve puzzles every day. And so, like I said, natural fit. I love all the folks in the space. Yeah. I love chatting with them, and they're always playing with technology.
Yeah,
so that again is a natural fit, and that's why I like working in this space.
How is artificial intelligence helping your platform?
Oh man. I know that my official answer should be that AI is going to be the future and that everything will be AI and that our platform is fully AI enabled. But I'm going to back up a little bit. So one of my favorite books when I was a kid was Foundation, and by Isaac Asimov.
Yes.
It's now a TV show by Apple, but the book is very different from the TV show. So I'm going to tell you about the book. What I really liked about it is it's basically a retelling of the rise and fall of the Roman Empire as it happens 20,000 years in the future, like a space empire, right? And one of the key parts of that rise and fall, at least for Asimov, is that robots help guide humanity, let's call it, towards that. And one of the key rules for robots is that there's three rules, but that they don't harm humans, that they obey humans, and that they won't let themselves come to harm, right? So that's kind of the three rules. And I think about that a lot when I think about AI because at the foundation of robotics for Asimov was these three rules. Like any robot that was built has these rules, and so they're always working in some ways towards the good of humanity. When I look at AI today, we don't have those rules. Right. Every AI company is working for the good of themselves and maybe for their corporate shareholders or for society in the way they see it. But there are no rules. And so I really like AI. I think that there are some very useful tools, and we do use large language models to make predictions. So specifically for adaptive catalog, we do it when you're putting together something for your storefront, like a bundle, right? We analyze it and we say, you know what? Other people, when they put this laptop, they put this docking station, or they put, if you're trying to win this contract, you might want to put some hours for this or that, right? And so definitely these kind of recommendation engines are a great use of AI in my mind. It enhances programming as well. So if you are already a really fairly senior developer, AI will help you code much faster because it'll put all the framework together and so on. But if you're a junior developer, it's actually a detriment because what happens is you don't have the chops to understand what AI tried to do. And AI is just taking the sum of the knowledge of humanity and synthesizing it. So it's not general intelligence. It's not going to create something new. Right. It is more synthesizing everything together that humanity already knows and trying to give you what it thinks is the best answer. Most of the time it's right. Maybe 90% of the time it's right. But the 10% it's wrong, it's usually very wrong. And so for a junior dev, you need to know when it's wrong and how to kind of ask the right questions so that you can get to solving your puzzle. So as I said, it's a great tool. I think that in the future it'll be really amazing, but I would definitely like to see safeguards in place, because otherwise, when true AI, general artificial intelligence, comes, which I think might eventually, though nowhere as close as like a few years. Right. It's going to take a while and probably a completely paradigm shift. I would love there to be a discussion about, should we have some rules of robotics? Should we have some rules of AI where we say, look, you can create this thing, but when you do, make sure that it has humanity's best interests at heart, right? And I'm not trying to say like this is some, Terminator type thing. I'm not even worried about that. I'm more worried that inadvertently, and you can see this in like ChatGPT and some others tools, when it, I'll say, doesn't know something, but it's trying to discover, right? And so it'll lie. It'll make things up. And so...
What's the term?
Hallucinate, right. So just think about that. Like, already at this rudimentary level, it's hallucinating.
It's lying, yeah.
What if in the process of a much more powerful computer, it hallucinates, and that hallucination happens to do something bad to our planet? And so it's for me, it's definitely use the tool that's there, but keep in mind that as we build new tools, we should have some ground rules, and we should set those ground rules before the tools are released into the wild.
Yeah, I think I read Foundation as a kid. I'm gonna go back and reread that.
You should. Yeah. It's a little hard to read these days because it's
too hard hitting, hitting home.
I wouldn't say hitting home. It's just I think that in the 50s people thought differently. There was like nuclear war hanging over their heads, and so like the way the writing,
Cold War. Interesting.
But Foundation, the first Foundation book is really short. It's 4 short stories, so you should be able to read it. But to really get through all like the Foundation books, which is there's 6 or 7, and then his whole Robots and Empire series, which is another 6 or 7 books. It took me a year or two to kind of go through. I reread them recently in anticipation of Foundation show, because I was just like, whatever. And I know I was doing other things, but it took me 2 or 3 years to get through the whole thing. But it was great. And it really laid the groundwork for me to kind of think about what would I like to see if we have intelligent robots. Like, what would I want to, and what would I want them to do for me? Because I don't need them to clean my house. And like you don't need an intelligent robot. Like a Roomba can do it reasonably well.
Yes.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypinz.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it.
What I would want to see is for us to push the borders of what we can do, like space exploration or underwater, like building underwater colonies, things that are too dangerous for humans, but with some kind of intelligence, robots can do and do well. That's really where I see that going, and hopefully with the safeguards I talked about in place.
Yeah, it's fascinating where it's going. It's an interesting perspective. So, Stephen, I think you know my story. I started the MSP back in the 90s, was working way too hard, 14, 16-hour days. You're no stranger to this.
Yes.
We discussed this a little over text, too. So I was putting fitness and diet way in the background. And next thing I know, in front of the doctor, she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I gained a terrible amount of weight.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, 46-inch waist. Yeah, I'm 32 now. Yeah. So she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So talking about your new baby. So my daughter was just born, scared the hell out of me. So I spent the next 6-7 months, lost about 130 pounds and kept it off. You can't look at these things like a finishing line, right? Many people kind of go back to old habits. These are lifelong habits you have to maintain. When I tell people this, they always say, what's your secret? And I say there's no secret. I just say discipline, right? Willpower, focus, routine. How does discipline play a role in your life, Stephen? You?
Oh, well, actually, I don't have that nearly as drastic of a weight loss story, but I was recently diagnosed with diabetes.
Yes.
And so, again, through lack of discipline or whatever else, I go to these shows, the long days, I eat a lot of sugar just to keep myself awake. And so, my A1C was actually 10.3, which is... you don't have to know what that is, but that's basically 10% of your blood is sugar, right? That's ridiculous. So I definitely had a moment where I was like, this can't continue. And I have a 14-month-old daughter, a 4-year-old son as well, and I want to see them grow up, and I want to see them off in the world solving their own fun puzzles. So for me, as I said, this is a come to Jesus moment, and I said, you know what, I'm going to fix this. And now there's an easy fix, which is you start taking insulin, and that's kind of it. You take insulin for the rest of your life, and you are now. I say easy, but it's still hard. But there's no sacrifice, right? You can continue doing what you're doing and kind of doing that. And I said, well, that doesn't. That's not my mindset. Like that's not really solving a puzzle. Yeah. And it sounds interesting. So I said, you know what? And again, I was diagnosed earlier this year in February or March. I said, is there another option, doc? Let me try something else. And she said, yeah, you can try to control it yourself. There are some meds like metformin and so on, but that's not going to get you back to normal, which is under 5. But you can try. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And
So you cut out sugar?
I cut out sugar completely. So no candy, and even like some breads I don't do.
Breads are full of sugar.
Because they're full of sugar. And so in the last 6 or 7 months, I've gotten my A1C down to 6.3, which is not amazing, but it is definitely a lot lower than before. It's considered controlled, and I'm going to keep working at it.
Wow.
So I definitely know where you're at. It takes willpower, it takes discipline, and it takes a drive to see something. And in my case, it is. I want to see my kids grow up. I want to be able to live a healthy life. And that's the weird thing. Like, I wasn't overweight before, and you can see I'm not like terribly overweight. Right. I exercised, and I tried to make a point of exercising even with the 16-hour days. Wow. I would still, I went to the gym last night after we landed.
Wow.
So, but it was just like, that's not the only thing. You still have to watch what you eat. You still have to be really on top of things. And I was always like thinking, it'll never strike me. I have such fast metabolism, and I'll always be fit, and I'm always climbing, and I'm always lifting and skiing and snowboarding. But it hit. And so I'm definitely realizing it's a matter of discipline, and it's a matter of understanding, trying to say, you know what, a quick sugar hit in the moment is not worth not living the rest of your life.
Good for you. Good for you. I thank you so much for your time. I know we've been dying to do this. We keep pushing it off. Anybody watching and listening, how can they get in touch with you?
You can go to my website, adaptivecatalog.com. I'm always available, or you can email me, just syu@adaptivecatalog.com.
You're also on LinkedIn.
Connect with me. Come see me at the shows. I'm usually at most shows. I enjoy talking to people. A staple. And again, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Like I said, we've been meaning to do this for a while.
Known each other for a long time.
And this is great. I love having conversations and getting to know people better, because it's important. Like, I want to know what drives you and what puzzle I can kind of help solve with you.
Here's the theme. Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.